Hello students and family members, we are getting set for the PSSA and our main question in math will now be, how do we prepare for this PSSA? Well, I've given the students some review problems and I must say, some of these problems are pretty challenging, so this video is sure to help. In fact, it's also good to work with a couple of colleagues that can help you. That's what I just did. So I sat down with one of my co-teachers and they helped me solve these problems. And I'm hoping that us working together and creating this video will help you answer the same questions with your 4th grade student tonight. So let's take a look at tonight's questions. Let's take the first one, step by step. We are dividing 7,218 by 4. Now, we taught the students how to divide using a strategy with repeated subtraction this year. However, one thing we realized we made a mistake on was we put all of the information to the right, even though our math problems are read left to right, typically. So I started setting it up left to right, and it seems much easier to read. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up left to right because every time we start one of these problems, it needs to be multiplied by 4. So this 4 is always going to drop down, and this multiplication sign is going to drop down to eventually create a subtraction problem until we repeatedly subtract until we get to 0 or a remainder. What are we going to multiply by? Well, we're either going to multiply a number in the ones, the tens, the hundreds, or the thousands. And it depends on how many ones, tens, hundreds, or thousands you can fit into this box. So the first question I need to ask myself is how many 4s can go into 7,218? Well, 4 is too small, so I'm going to multiply that 4 not just by 1, not just by 10, not even just by 100, but by 1,000. And I'm not going to just take 1,000. I'm going to take more than 1,000 if I can. But in this case, I can't. Because if I took 4 times 2,000, it would be 8,000, and I cannot subtract 8,000 from 7,218. So in this case, I'm going to start with 4 times 1,000 to generate the number that I'm going to subtract, which in this case is 4,000. Now, like I had mentioned, division is nothing but repeated subtraction, and that's what we're doing here. 8 minus 0 is 8, 1 minus 0 is 1, 2 minus 0 is 2, and then 7 minus 4, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 is 3. That gives me the number 3,218. I did not get to 0. I did not get a remainder, so I need to keep subtracting. Again, I'm going to start my next multiplication problem with 4. I'm going to multiply it by something. I can no longer multiply it by 1,000 because that would be too big when it comes to this problem right here. So instead, I'm going to multiply it by 100, and I'm not just going to multiply it by 100. I'm going to multiply it by 800 because I'm greedy and I want to take more. I want this problem to be as short as I possibly can make it. So when I multiply 4 times 800, and I can use a quick shortcut with this one. I take my zeros and I put them right into my answer. And then I just do 4 times 8, which is 32. And now I'm ready for my subtraction. 8 minus 0 is 8. 1 minus 0 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. 3 minus 3 is 0. That leaves me with 18. Now I have a math fact problem that I can solve to finish up this repeated subtraction division problem. Again, I'm going to start with 4. I'm going to multiply that number by 4 because 4 by 4 is 16. And I can certainly subtract 16 from 18, which will leave me with my remainder of 2. Now the only other thing I have to do is add everything in the blue right here that I multiplied by and get my final answer. 0 plus 0, bring down my 8 and my 1. My final answer is all right here at the very bottom, what I'm circling in red. 7,218 divided by 4 is 1,804 with a remainder of 2. Let's move on to number 2. This one I got wrong a couple of times until I decided to ask my coworker across the hall. Chantel making a quilt using fabric squares that measured 3/4 foot on each side. That's the part that really confused me. Really what you have to understand is that there are 6 quilts. It's not just one. And they only want to know the one side. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm going to line them up right next to each other. Because really they're creating a quilt with 6 squares like this. And the bottom length is all we're concerned with when we read the rest of this problem. I'm going to go ahead and bring those bottom lengths down here. And I need 2 more. And then I'm ready to add the length. Let's go back into the question. She used 6 squares to make the length of the quilt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is the length in feet of Chantel's quilt? Well, in this case, I need to add 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And my denominator gets pushed into my answer. Now, technically, this would be an answer, but because it's an improper fraction, I have to convert it. The way we convert improper fractions to mixed numbers, I take my denominator. I ask myself, how many times can 4 go into 18? 4, 8, 12, 16. It can go in 4 times. How many left over? That's my numerator. There were 2 because 18 minus 16, because remember, 4 goes into 18 6 times. I'm sorry, 4 times with 16. 18 minus 16 is 2, and then I push my denominator over. Of course, this test doesn't just let it stop there because 4 2/4 is not a choice, but I know that 2/4 equals 1/2. How do I know that? Because when my denominator and my numerator are divisible by the same number, I can create an equivalent fraction. And that's what I do here, which equals 1/2. And that's the answer to number 2. Moving on to number 3. This is a simple commutative property question. Leo has 6 boxes of chalk with 8 pieces in each box. Rachel has 8 boxes of chalk with 6 pieces in each box. Those are equivalent because the commutative property tells me I can move this 6 over here and the 8 over here, and it's still going to get me the same exact answer, which in this case would be C. Flip it to the back. Let's finish up. Peter, Ingrid, and Anna are collecting posters. This is a perfect bar modeling question. Let me show you how to set it up. Peter, Ingrid, and Anna collect posters. Peter has 14 posters. Ingrid has 6 more posters than Peter. Anna has 3 times as many posters as Ingrid. So how many posters do Peter, Anna, and Ingrid have all together? You'd think it's an addition, but first you have to solve for how many each of these students has. So first, we're given the fact that Peter has 14 posters. This bar right here is going to represent Peter, and it's also going to represent the fact that Peter has 14 posters. Ingrid has 6 more than Peter, so that's going to be 14 plus 6. So once I find out 14 plus 6, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 is equal to 20, then I know that Anna, who has 3 times as many, which again is why I have so many additional bars to represent how many Anna has, because she has 3 times as many as Ingrid, I can then go ahead and write in, well, she has 20 times 3, which in this case, I actually gave it 1 too many bars if you think about it. Let me get rid of that one. And then I just need to solve for how many they have. We know that Ingrid has 20. Anna has 20 times 3, which in this case, 20, 40, and then 60. And Peter has 14, and we're ready to add these up. +20 plus 60 plus 14 is 94. My answer is C. That's how you use a bar model to answer an extended word problem like this. Let's move on to our final question. Jason bought a rectangular canvas, that's what's represented down here, and a square canvas, that's what I've drawn over here on the side. They have the same exact perimeter. Perimeter is the side plus the side plus the side plus the side. The formula for perimeter is finding out how much the length is around the total outside. Side plus side plus side plus side. Which means in this case, because of the properties of the rectangle, I can tell you that the perimeter would have a length on top of 3 and a length on the sides of 1 and 1. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, plus 1 more is 8. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 8. That doesn't tell me what the perimeter of this square does. Well, actually it does. The perimeter is still the same. Now you just need to know what exactly is the side length, because that's the question. What is the length in feet of just one side of the square canvas? Well, the way you solve that is by understanding the properties of a rectangle. In this case, properties of a rectangle are all sides are exactly the same length. So 8 divided by the same length of 4 different sides is going to get me my answer. In this case, 2, 2, 2, and 2. The answer is 2 because the properties of the rectangle and square plus the perimeter will give me my answer of A. I know these questions may seem difficult, but these are the types of questions that students are seeing on the PSSA, and I hope you took some time to view this video tonight. I hope it was helpful. Have a great night.